the first thing that we want to do is to create the main structure for this web page. And let me start by showing you one of those cool tricks I told you about that Visual Studio Code as a text editor has to help us. So I'm going to create a whole structure by typing only one character on the screen and then pressing the enter. So you need to know what that is in order to be able to use it. So let me go ahead and show you. So on the first line here, I'm just going to put an exclamation mark, just one simple exclamation mark, and then press enter. And you will see as soon as I do that, a bunch of stuff appears on the screen. And that's really interesting. Normally, I would need to type out every word or every line that you see on the screen. But using this trick, what we can do is we basically create a whole structure with just the press of one key. So let me go ahead and explain to you what this is, what you are seeing on the screen right now. And I hope, by the way, if some of you are learning from this, I hope you have your own Visual Studio Code open. I hope you are creating your own web page, maybe not exactly like what I'm creating here, but experimenting with this tool, and it's going to be really interesting. So the first line you see here is the doc type. And basically what it says is it's introducing this file to be an HTML file. So the document type is HTML, and that's the first thing it's communicating to the browser. Now remember, when you open a browser and you type in any website.com, any website.ca, or any other extension that you might have, what happens is the server that your browser gets connected to is sending to the browser an HTML file, CSS files, JavaScript files, all of the resources related to that web page to be loaded, rendered and loaded by your browser. Now the first one is the HTML file that we are going to focus on here. And as you can see, the first thing that this file is communicating to the browser is the doc type, which is an HTML. Now, something interesting that you might notice here is every line starts with a less than line, and then there's less than and greater than wrapping around these statements. Now, these are called tags that you see inside less than, greater than. So these are HTML tags. Now, some of these tags have an opening tag and a closing tag. Some of them are self-closing. So let me give you an example. So for example, this first one is a self-closing tag, and you don't see any other closing for this than what you see on line 1. But look at the HTML tag on line 2. So this HTML tag with some descriptions, which we are going to talk about, as soon as I highlight the HTML tag, you will see that it opens on line 2 and it's closing on line 11. And as you can see, the closing HTML tag has exactly the same word, HTML, inside it. The only difference is it has a slash right after the less than sign. So it's less than slash greater than. Okay. And as you can see, the rest of the document is wrapped inside your HTML tag. So this HTML is the parent of the whole document from line 2 to line 11 at the moment. And in order to make it a little bit more readable, what I'm going to do is to highlight everything else here and press tab to indent everything else. So indentation is very useful to make your document readable when you are programming. And one reason you might indent is to show the parents and the children, the relationship between elements on a page. And at the moment, you can see that this HTML is the parent that has two main children. The head, you see, as soon as I click it, it will highlight the opening head tag and the closing tag. And then there's the body, which is empty. Now you might be asking, there's a lot of stuff here. If I go ahead and open this HTML file right away, is there going to be anything inside it? The answer is no. This is going to be an empty HTML file at the moment. And the reason is everything that is going to be visible on your HTML file, on your web page, is something that you will see inside the body tags. And as you can see, the body tag is empty at the moment. So let me actually go ahead and show it to you. But before I show it to you, I need to first save this file. And by the way, Visual Studio Code is telling you that this file is not saved by this little white circle that you can see on the HTML tab on the top that I'm pointing to. You see, we don't have this on the CSS file or the JavaScript file because there's nothing over there to be saved. We haven't made any changes yet. On index.html, however, because we have made some changes, we added some stuff here, it is reminding us that you need to save this file. So the shortcut for saving is Control S. You can just go ahead and press that to save the file. As I'm going to do, you will see that this circle will disappear. Okay, there's no more a white circle up here because I saved my file already. You could also go to File and then Save, which you can see shows Control+S as a shortcut. Now that I have saved my file, I can actually go ahead and open on my browser my first web page to see what's inside it. You excited? Let's go ahead and take a look. I'll go to my project folder. As you can see, it's already set to be opened on Google Chrome. I click this file and it opens it for me on the other screen. So let me just bring it here. And it tells me that it's just a big giant white screen with nothing else on it. And as you can see on the top over here, where you usually see the URL where you go, it shows where this file is saved on my computer. So I'm running it locally at the moment. It's not being hosted anywhere other than my own computer. So as you can see, it's coming from my desktop, my project folder, and then index.html, and it's completely empty because we don't have anything in the body of the HTML file yet. I'm going to keep this tab open. I'll just minimize it because every time I'm going to check and test my design, I will come back here, refresh it, and see what's inside. So let's go back to my Visual Studio Code. We're going to come back to the main structure of the HTML structure that I just explained, and we're going to spend some time discussing the head section later. It's a very, very important section. Everything you see here is going to be invisible on the main page, but very, very important stuff in terms of communication with the browser, with the search engine, lots of settings, search engine optimization related stuff. We are going to come back and take a look at the head section in depth once we have designed something inside of the body tags. So opening, closing body tags, and there is absolutely nothing between them. So let's go ahead and just add our first element on this page. And what I'm going to do, I need to open and close a tag to be able to write something inside the body. And you see, because what I'm typing here is going to be a child to the body, I'm typing it after the indentation. So it shows that line 9 is indented in comparison with line 8. That shows line 9 is something that belongs to line 8, which is the body. Okay, now I don't know how familiar you are with HTML. You might be just starting, or you might know some stuff from before. So I'm going to do something here and then come back and explain it further. So the first thing I want to add here is going to be a heading for this website, a web page. And the heading is going to carry the name of the business that we are going to make this web page for. So I'm going to start H1. So that's the opening tag. And as soon as I close it, you will see another trick in Visual Studio Code that is very helpful, that saves you a lot of time and typing and effort. So as soon as you close the tag, you will see it will give you the closing tag automatically. I didn't type this part, the closing H1. Now the 1 for H1 means there is multiple different heading tags. If you are curious, it's H1 to H6. H1 is going to give us the largest font size, the most important heading of all, and then you can have some subheadings for H2, H3, and all the way down to H6. Now, I'm going to write here Lotus, which is going to be the name of the company. And let's also add bakery to it. Okay, Lotus Bakery. And what I'm going to do before I go ahead and test it and see if it appears magically on my website, I'm going to save. So Control S, don't forget that. Sometimes you don't save your document. You go to your browser and you see nothing. It's because you wrote something in your file, but you never saved it. So the browser doesn't know it's there. Now I'm going to refresh this and you will see that I have Lotus Bakery appearing on my browser. That's my index.html file, which now finally has the first element added to the body. Now you might be saying, wait a second, you call this a web page? It's literally just text on a white screen. There's no design. How do you control things here? What if you want a fancy text at the center of the page with a certain color, with a certain font family? Well, you need to be patient. All of that is going to come. But before we get there, let's go ahead and create the main structure of the page, and we're going to do it layer by layer. So let's go back to our index.html now. Let me paint a picture for you here of what I have in mind. So as I told you, nothing behind the scenes. I don't have a design in mind at the moment for this project. So I'm just thinking as I'm talking to you about how to design this whole page, and I'm trying to figure out what it is going to look like. So let me do something here. I'm going to open a paint file so that we can just sketch together what we are going to try to achieve here. So let's say this is the page, okay? Looking very broadly, I mean, speaking so generally, without any details, what I want to have is probably something resembling a header section. So it's going to be standing on the top here, and we need to figure out what to put here. We have some images to work with, we have some information, some text. Then there's going to be a main section, and then there's going to be a footer at the bottom of the page, where you have seen footers before on different websites, where you can put your social media links and links to other pages of the website, and copyright sign, and maybe some of your awards and anything else you would like to have at the footer. Now, what's interesting about the footer and the header of any page is that usually they repeat between different pages. So for example, if you have a home page with a certain header and footer, your about page, your contact page, your services page, and other pages usually have the same header and the footer. You can make them different if you want to, but there are usually some sections on your design that are going to be repeated throughout different pages. So think about that. And what I want to do now is just to create at least a placeholder for these three main sections. So, and in HTML to show you how we're going to name them with descriptive names, HTML tags, to create this header, main section, and a footer. So that's what I'm going to do. Let me minimize this. So that's the plan. So as I said, we're going to have three sections. So for a second, forget about this H1 heading Lotus Bakery. So I'm going to delete that. Inside the body of this whole page, we are going to create three sections. So let's go ahead and create three tags. One, let's go ahead and call this header. So you open, close, and then I press enter so that I know I'm going to put some content here for the header section. And then I'm going to create a main, open, close main, it's empty. And then I'm going to have a footer, open, close, footer. So I have created the main skeleton, the structure for my web page with the three main sections. All of them are children of the body, which is a child of the HTML tag, as you saw at the beginning. Now, I'm just repeating this so that you see the relationship between these elements and how they are related to each other. Now, you remember the H1 with the name of this business? We can put it now inside main or inside header, depending on how we are going to go ahead and continue with the design. For now, let me just go ahead and put it here as an H1. Now, before I put that, let me go ahead and take a look again at the file we had before to see what exactly is the content that we are going to use here. So let's take a look here. So it says here, it's given us a title, Lotus Flour Bakery, Rediscover Real Sourdough. So let's go ahead and use exactly that as a main title for now. Now, of course, we're going to come back here and change the design and everything. But let's go ahead and bring this. I just copy that, I paste it here. So this will be in H1. Now, let's make it even more beautiful. How about we take this second part out? So I'm going to Control X to cut this part out and put it inside another heading underneath my H1, because I want to show you how they're going to look when you are using two different headings with different numbers. So H1 was the first one, and the second one I'm going to use H2. And I will paste Rediscover Real Sourdough for that. H1 and H2. Now, you will see how they're going to look when you have two different headings. The main heading, H1, and the secondary heading, H2. So I'm going to save and show you how it's going to look at the moment. I refresh, and you can see here that I have the main heading here. As you can see, it's a little bit bigger in terms of font size. And then I have my second heading, H2, on the second line. And you can see that it's very interesting. The heading tag, the H tag, has a break line inherent. What I mean by that is sometimes when you type different lines, they might appear right in front of each other. So it would be Lotus Flower Bakery, Rediscover Real Sourdough, all in one line. But one of the good points about the heading 1 and heading 2 and all of the headings basically, and the P tag, which stands paragraph, stands for paragraph tag, they all have this property that basically when you create a new one, it automatically sends it to the next line. That's beautiful. So that's part of the content we brought from the actual content we got from the client here. That's beautiful. Now, let's add a little bit more content. Let's bring everything to the page and then start designing it. There is this welcome to Lotus Flower Bakery, and then there's some description about the bakery itself. Let's bring this on to the page as well. So I'm going to copy this, bring it to my Visual Studio Code, and I'm still inside my main tag. After my heading 1 and heading 2, I'm going to add a paragraph, a P tag, and I'm going to paste the whole thing inside one P tag. You see it starts here. I pasted the whole text here, and there's the closing P tag at the end. So everything has an opening and a closing tag, as you can see. Okay, now let's take a look at what we have. We've added one paragraph here, and there you go. So we have H1, we have H2, and we have the P tag, the paragraph tag. Now, I completely understand if you're thinking this looks horrible. This is the ugliest thing I have ever seen in my life. You call this a web page, a website? What are you talking about? I completely agree with you. And that's why we're here. We're going to change that. We're going to make this into one of the most beautiful web pages ever created. Now, you need to be patient for that, and hopefully along the way, it will be helpful, useful, and educational for those of you who are patient enough to continue.